Syrian Arab Army destroys terrorist hideout, foils infiltration attempts into Aleppo city, and restores security to areas in Deir Ezzour. Lavrov, Kimoun, and Brahimi's meeting focus in resuming Geneva II talks. The Israeli embassy in Damascus organizes photo exhibition marking the anniversary of Hugo Chavez passing away. Good afternoon, this is news in English from Syrian Arab television in Damascus. We start with our local news in Syria, where the Ministry of Health launched the fourth national polio vaccination campaign, which is in its second day and is going to last until next Thursday and targeting children under 5 years old. Health Minister Saad Naif asserted that the fourth national polio vaccination campaign is targeting all governorates and every child in the next coming days of the campaign. Director of the vaccination program, Dr. Nidal Abu Rashid, said that the campaign was launched in all provinces through 1,200 centers and tens of medical points and mobile crews, pointing out that 7,080 doctors and 1,884 volunteers are taking part in this campaign. Abu Rashid added that the current campaign is distinguished by more participation of volunteers and civil society, which would help the campaign reach more areas than before, consequently covering a larger percentage of children. The third nationwide vaccination campaign had succeeded at reaching more than 2.7 million children, and that the greatest number of vaccinated children was registered in Damascus countryside province. Head of the National Security and Foreign Affairs Committee in the Iranian Shura Council, Alauddin Projordi, said that a joint Iranian, Syrian, Iraqi and Lebanese parliamentary meeting will be held on the 10th of March in Tehran. In a statement after returning from a tour in Syria and Lebanon, Projordi said that the joint meeting was discussed with the speakers of the Syrian People's Assembly, Mohammad Jihad al-Hamid, during his visit to Damascus. Projordi pointed out that he also discussed with the officials in Syria and Lebanon ways of fighting the Takfiri groups in the region. Syrian community in Russia affirms commitment to the national firm principles in defense of the people and the homeland and protecting Syria's sovereignty and territorial integrity. During their meeting with Syria's ambassador to Russia, Dr. Riyad Haddad, members of the Syrian community expressed pride in the Syrian army for its victories over terrorism across the country, praising their national army's resolve to eradicate the foreign-backed terrorism that has wreaked havoc in the homeland. He indicated that the foreign sponsors of the coalition tried to force Syria into an awkward position during Geneva talks by suggesting a discussion of Geneva communique, and they placed their bets that Syria will decline. On the humanitarian situation in Syria, Haddad said that Syria has agreed to comply with the United Nations Security Council Resolution number 2139 and to abide by the fundamental principles of international law. Back in the local news, citizens in Karam al-Shami and the adjacent neighborhoods in Homs city today took to the streets in support of the firm national principles and the Syrian Arab Army in confronting armed terrorist groups. In Homs countryside, citizens in Hessia town and the adjacent villages also staged a mass march in support of the firm national principles and the Syrian Arab Army in confronting the armed terrorist groups. While in Quneitra city, thousands of citizens flocked into streets of Al-Ba'ath city in support of the national principles and the Syrian army in repelling the Takfiri groups. In field developments and in Damascus countryside, Syrian Arab Army units killed a number of terrorists, some of them from the so-called Al-Jabha al-Islamiyya, the Islamic Front, injured several others and destroyed their machine gun-equipped vehicles. In a series of operations against their hideouts in the gatherings in Yabrud, Dariya, Az-Zabadani mountains, Duma, Arbin, Harasta, Jobar, and Al-Mleha, Syrian Arab Army units also destroyed 2 vehicles equipped with heavy machine guns and killed a number of terrorists in Rima Farms, northeast of Yabrud. Meanwhile, in Nabek Farms, a warehouse was found where a large amount of weapons, machine guns, and mortar shells were hidden. Syrian Arab Army units have repelled an attempt by an armed terrorist group that have tried to infiltrate from Al-Majhar al-Janubi neighborhood in Talbisi in Homs countryside to attack a military checkpoint, inflicting heavy losses among the attackers and destroying their weapons. Another army unit eliminated an armed terrorist group in Al-Hassan town in Talkalakh countryside. Going to Iraq, where Iraqi police have said that it killed and detained 70% of the leaders of the so-called Islamic State in Iraq and the Sham, ISIS, adding that it managed to penetrate the terrorist network run by violent cells in Diyala province. Commander of the police in Diyala said that the security apparatus have dealt preemptive blows to the terrorist organization in the surrounding area of the 5 sporadic regions inside the province that contained secret hideouts, which yielded positive results in consolidating the capabilities of the security forces in settling the battle with the terrorist organization. Throughout the last 2 weeks, he further added that 70% of the leaders of the ISIS have either been killed or arrested, whereas others fled the province after disclosing their true identities. In Nainawa province, police forces have foiled attempts of the Islamic State in Iraq and Sham to control areas south of Mosul city. In Misan, east of Iraq, Iraqi police carried out campaigns of storming and inspection, detaining 11 persons accused with different criminal charges. In Damascus countryside, citizens of Mu'addamiyat al-Sham city rejected the United Nations aid and the Western countries' attempt to politicize their difficult humanitarian situation. They expressed satisfaction over the local reconciliation in the city, rejecting all forms of violence. The citizens said that all foodstuff and consumer materials are available in the city, adding that the Syrian government and the Arab Red Crescent are shouldering the responsibilities towards citizens. General Coordinator of the Popular Reconciliation, Hassan Ghandour, said that the aid coming from the Zionist lobby will not enter the city, adding that the Syrians do not need bargains that cash on their blood of the Syrian people. Russian Foreign Ministry said today that talks between Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, and the United Nations envoy to Syria, Al-Brahimi, will be held later today in Geneva and will concentrate on the developments of the crisis in Syria. Media and Press Department at the Russian Foreign Ministry said talks of the tripartite meeting in Geneva today are expected to focus on efforts exerted for preceding negotiations of Geneva II conference. The second round of talks of Geneva II between the delegations of the Syrian Arab Republic and the coalition ended on the 15th of the last month without scheduling a date for preceding talks. U.S. Secretary of the Homeland Security Department Jay Johnson asserts that Syria has become the largest training camp for jihadists across the world, while his country continues to support the terrorists in Syria.
A sense returns back that the extremism which was exported to Syria is now posing a threat to the European countries and even to the United States. U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Department Jay Johnson, in his testimony before the Homeland Security Committee in the United States Congress, asserted that there are increasing numbers of whom he described as foreign jihadists in Syria, which has become, from his own point of view, the largest training camp for jihadists in the world, exceeding Pakistan and Afghanistan. Johnson pointed out that the state of chaos and instability in Syria comes on top of the priorities for the functions of his department, which is protecting the U.S. security and preventing attacks. Johnson talked about the protection of U.S. security from attacks by what he called as jihadists in Syria. However, we recall the statements of the former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who acknowledged that the United States was the one who created those jihadists.
Let's remember here, The people we are fighting today, we funded 20 years ago.
Washington's fears that the threat of extremism might bounce back to strike the United States completely contradicts its actions. A short time ago, the U.S. congressman secretly approved financing shipments of weapons to the armed terrorist groups in Syria, whom they called moderate opposition. At the same time, high-level meetings were held to discuss this issue. Most recently was in Poland, in which interior ministers of the United States, Britain, France, Germany, Spain, Italy, and Poland participated.
The Venezuelan embassy in Damascus organized a photo exhibition at the Opera House documenting the 3 visits of the late Venezuelan leader Hugo Chavez to Syria, marking the anniversary of his passing. In a statement to Sana, Culture Minister Luban Mshawah said that the exhibition accentuates the friendship between the peoples of Syria and Venezuela and the deep bonds between the two countries which are facing conspiracies. For his part, Venezuelan ambassador to Damascus, Imad Saab, said that this exhibition is part of similar activities organized by Venezuelan embassies and friendship societies across the world. Saab said that Chavez had a strong and remarkable relationship with the Syrian leadership and people, which is why the embassy organized this event in addition to another event that will be held in Damascus University on March 5th. With this, we end our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, www.syriaonline.sy. Now to the latest business and market news with Vani Kunejian, but after a short break. Infiltration attempts into Aleppo city and restore security to areas in Deir Ezzour. Lavrov, Kimun and Al-Brahimi division in Damascus. We start with our local news in Syria, where the Ministry of Health launched the 4th national polio vaccination campaign, which is in its 2nd day and is going to last until next Thursday and targeting children under 5 years old. Health Minister Saleh. Good afternoon, this is News in English from Syria. After this meeting, focus in resuming Geneva II talks. Venezuelan embassy in Damascus organizes photo exhibition marking the anniversary of Hugo Chavez passing away. Syrian Arab Army destroys terrorist hideout for